I was recently gifted someone's childhood dolls, and I'm going to restore them. And I'm going to start with Molly. She has some silver eye, her hair needs a lot of help, and she's basically dirty all over. So we're going to restore her from start to finish, completely taking her apart and cleaning her. So the first thing that I always do is remove the head, and I'm going to take the eyes out and remove her wig. That way I can wash her wig, and I will have to repaint her eyes, which have silvered. Once I've removed her wig and her eyes, I'm going to take a damp magic eraser and clean her face. I'm going to be careful not to scrub too hard because it could take the face paint off. Then I remove her limbs and clean those with a damp magic eraser as well. After I use the magic eraser, I use a damp cloth and then a dry cloth to wipe off any remaining dirt. Thankfully, this doll doesn't have any dye transfer or permanent stains on her vinyl, so the magic eraser will do the trick. I also clean her torso and her polyfill that's inside of her torso. I like to put them in the washing machine in cold water and wash them with a very gentle and mild detergent. Now I have to repaint her eyes. She has silver eyes, so the old paint will have to come out, but first I'll need to take the weights out of the eyes. I do use a heat gun to melt the glue on the weights. You have to be very careful when using heat around the eyes. I don't use it more than a few seconds because it could melt the eye. I then remove the old paint and find a good color match for Molly's original eye color. When I paint, I usually do around 4 or 5 coats. I let each coat completely dry before I do another coat. When I'm happy with how the eyes look, I'll paint the pupils. I just use a basic black paint for that. After everything is completely dry, I take some glue and I glue the weights back on the eyes. Now I wash Molly's wig in cold water with some Blue Dawn. A wig shampoo or a Johnson's baby shampoo will also work too. You never want to put any conditioner in it. It does not need that, and it'll make the hair feel very heavy. I towel dry it, and then I'm going to brush it out while it's still wet. Then I'll take it and sit it outside until it is completely dry. Now that Molly's eyes are completely dry, I'm going to put them back in her head. I'm going to adjust them to where they're exactly the way I'd like them to be. Make sure that the eyelashes are even. And then I'm going to add a little bit of color back to her cheeks and her lips. I'm not going to add anything extra to them, just enhance her natural paint. I use Rembrandt soft pastels to do this, and makeup brushes I found work a lot better than paint brushes. After I'm happy with the way it looks, I'm going to seal her with a Mr. Super Clear Matte. Now it's time to put her wig back on. Again, make sure that the wig is completely dry before you put it back on. I use tacky glue for the top of her head and a Gorilla Glue gel with a precision point for around the edges. Once I'm happy with that, it's time for me to start restoring her hair. Her hair appeared to be dry, but that's actually from brushing with the wrong kind of brush or just over-brushing throughout the years. Since Pleasant Company and American Girl dolls have a synthetic wig, you want to make sure to always use a wire bristle wig brush when you brush their hair. I'm going to use heat to relax Molly's hair and make it smooth and shiny again. I have done this many times on many different dolls and think it's the best method, but you do have to approach it with caution if you've never done it before. I use a ceramic Chi flat iron on 240 degrees, which works well with the device I have, but I recommend starting at a lower temperature if you're using a device you aren't familiar with. Before you start using your flat iron, you have to make sure that the hair is nice and wet. I do the hair in lots of very small sections. It does take a while to do this, but I promise you that it's worth it. My poor arms can usually only do about half of the doll's hair before I have to stop and rest. Then I do the rest of the hair. Then I'll do the same thing with her bangs and brush them down with a metal brush. Once her hair is done, it's time to put her arms and legs back on her torso and then restuff her body. But first, I have to restring her limbs. I use the tension cups that originally came with the doll, but I do replace the elastic and the crimps. I use my heat gun again to heat the limbs up to get the tension cups out of them. Then I'll put the ones that have the strings in back into the limb while it's still hot. Once I have them all in the limbs, then I'll put them back onto the body one by one and secure the elastic tightly so that your doll can stand and pose without any problems. Restringing a doll isn't a particularly difficult thing to do, but for some reason I don't enjoy doing this part. Now I'm going to put her clean polyfill back inside of her torso, and then I'll reattach her head. It never ceases to amaze me just how much polyfill can fit inside of a doll torso. Now that her head's back on, she's going to take a quick trip to Amanda's hair salon to get her signature braids put back in her hair. Now the only thing left to do is get her back into her meat outfit. And there you have it, restoring a Molly from start to finish.